This video continues the series to help you understand how to use the Answer Ladies machine knitting notebook. And also, many of the things we're discussing here can be applied to other patterns that you may already have and enjoy. Today's subject is adding bust darts, and this is definitely one that you can use with other designs. For a curvaceous woman, the properly sized dart can make all the difference in the world to the fit of her garment and how she looks in it. The knitting notebook exists in 2 volumes, one for standard and bulky and one for mid-gauge, and they all contain these same basic designs. This is the crew neck, drop-shouldered sweater with short and long sleeves. Bust darts may definitely be added to advantage to this simple pattern. Patterns like these. This is the sleeveless shell pattern, shown here with a funnel neck, but it can have any neckline. And definitely this is a place where darts are to advantage. Shown here is the cardigan version of the modified drop shoulder design. Modified drop shoulders may certainly have bust darts added, and cardigans may as well. But you may not need to for a cardigan because they're so frequently worn open and the weight of the fronts has an effect on the drape. It's not always necessary for somebody to have darts in her cardigans, even if she really enjoys them in her pullover sweaters. This is my half-scale model. She is proportioned exactly half of the size of a typical woman with a 36 bust. She is fairly buxom. So darts are knitted into this sweater, and the sweater sits straight across at the hem, unlike this one. But with the addition of darts, this one also sits straight across at the hem. Certainly this is much more flattering, but there are some other advantages to darts. On buxom women, sleeveless styles often gape at the armholes, even if we try to make the armholes tight and do fancy trims. With bust darts, there will be much less tendency for that to happen because we've accounted for the curve another way and the bust line is not distorting a basically flat sweater. The notebooks contain an entire chapter on figuring out how much of a dart that you need and how to create it. But there is also a shortcut, a dart chart that will work for most people. The approach that I have found works best is to figure out how much length is needed in the front of the sweater to prevent this ghastly gap. Then all we need to do is figure out how deep is that gap actually. In this case, it's about 3 inches. This is a full figured model. We need to gradually make the front of the sweater 3 inches longer than the sides. If we can do that, the side seams will match up because the front and the back will be the same length along the side seam, but we will have this nice front that extends as long as the lady needs it to do. So it's not exposing her slip or waistband and whatever else she'd rather not put on display. You can figure that out with pure and simple arithmetic, but the book includes this chart, reading the top line for size 34 bust, the instructions to create 1 inch of extra depth. You would read this way: place stitches and hold for 1 inch long dart for the pullover. You would read the instructions in that first cell. Place 8 stitches and hold on the side away from the carriage every row 4 times. That's the first half of any dart, putting stitches progressively into hold so the knitting grows at the center faster than the outside edges. Then we just reverse the process and gradually return all the held stitches to work. For this half-size model, I am putting 4 stitches into hold every row on the side opposite the carriage 4 times. You may have noticed, hey, you only put 3 stitches into hold. That's true, but I'm doing the 4th after knitting the row, which is called the automatic wrap method. And I find that for knitting darts, I prefer this over the traditional wrapping the next needle over method of preventing holes. This is a little smoother. It's really discreet and hard to spot On an adult woman, we usually go an inch or so below the armhole shaping. On this half-scale model, the dart takes place half an inch below the shaping. And it's hard to spot even though I know that I knitted it. So let us look at the knitting process again, and I will narrate exactly what I'm doing. Set the carriage so that it will hold the needles that are brought all the way forward, and make sure that you do this on both sides. On the side away from the carriage, pull 3 needles into hold. Knit across and place a 4th needle into hold. On the side away from the carriage, place 3 more needles in hold, knit across, place a 4th needle in hold. On the side away from the carriage, place 3 in hold, knit across, and add a 4th to hold, right next to those that are already in hold. We do that one more time. 3 into hold, knit, 1 into hold. Now before going back, opposite the carriage, return 4 to work. Knit across. Opposite the carriage, return 4 to work. I made a mistake and only returned 3, but it's no big thing. I can hand knit that stitch when I figure it out, and I did. Last 4 on the left into work, knit across. Last 4 on the right into work, knit across, and we're done. One more thing to keep in mind. You will either want to turn off your row counter while knitting the dart, or make a note of the row at which the dart began and turn it back to that row after completing the dart. That way we really are adding length to the front that's not part of the back or the main pattern. This is really not much work for the spectacular improvement in fit that it achieves. I hope now you'll feel brave enough to add darts if you're a person who needs them.